Hi, and welcome to Story Time with Miss Jo. Today I've got a wonderful story about helping others. And our remembering point today is we're not too important to help others. It's amazing, but God uses the littlest thing we give with a willing heart to help others. And this is a story called Thank You, Omu, by Oji Moria, and it's about Omu, and it means grandmother, who found a way to help her whole neighborhood. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Omu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took small tastes. "What a delicious stew," Omu said. "Tonight dinner will be surely the best I have ever had." With that, Omu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent waved through the window and out the door and down the hall toward the street and around the block until, knock, knock, someone was at the door. When Omu opened the door, she saw a little boy. "Little boy," said Omu, "what brings you to my home?" "I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell," the little boy replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." Stew," he sighed, says, "that sure sounds yummy." Omu thought a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit, and it would not hurt to share. "Would you like some?" The little boy nodded, and Omu spooned out some of the thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Omu," the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Omu closed the door and went back to her book. And as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and down out the door and down the hall toward the street and around the block. Knock, knock. Someone was at the door. When Omu opened the door, this time she saw Ms. Police Officer. Omu exclaimed, "What brings you to my home?" "I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell," Miss Police Officer replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Ah, stew," she said, and her mouth watered. "That sounds mighty tasty." Omu thought a moment. There was still enough to share. "Would you like some?" The police officer nodded. And once again, Omu spooned out some of the thick red stew from the fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Omu," the officer replied and went her way. And so, for the second time, Omu closed the door, went back to her book, but sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent waved out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street and around the block. Knock, knock. Again, someone was at Omu's door. This time when she opened the door, she saw a hot dog vendor. "Mr. Hot Dog Vendor," Omu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell," Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Oh, stew, the vendor licked his lips. That sounds delectable. So Omu spooned some out of the thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Omu, the hot dog vendor said, and he went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Omu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, and an athlete, a bus driver, construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Omu shared. Soon the sky darkened and the street lights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Omu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. Omu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until knock, 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 knock. Who could that be? Omu wondered. And when she opened her door, she saw the little boy, the policeman, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Omu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Omu's sleeve. Don't worry, Omu. We're not here to ask. We're here to give. Then the police officer carried a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweets. Even the little boy presented Omu with a special red, shiny envelope. Everyone who knocked on Omu's door that day brought something inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Omu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. Since the dinner was the best she had ever had. Thank you, Omu. So you see, this is a great example of when we give our best to God and we share, it comes back to us. We can't outgive God, and we're never ever too important to help somebody out. Thanks for joining me on Storytime with Miss Jo. Take care.